And we're at Piaget at Watches and Wonders 2019, and we are looking at what is officially a concept watch, the 2018 Altiplano Ultimate Concept. The progress on the technologies employed in this watch continues at Piaget, where I'm told 2 of these watches are being tested to destruction. A quick refresher on a watch that stunned last year at SIHH. The watch is made of cobalt externally. The movement is incorporated into the physical structure of the case back. It's 2 millimeters thick, though 41 millimeters across. All told, the watch weighs approximately 21 grams, which means less than an RM9, but a little bit more than an RM27-1. Now let's get super close because the details matter on this timepiece. The first thing you'll note is that the caliber 900P UC features a surprisingly low number of jewels, 13 jewels. The reason for that is that a good deal of the pivots actually rely on ball bearings rather than jewels. There is a screw, which is a little bit like a Archimedes screw. They're calling it the infinite screw. It's used for winding the watch, and the idea was to prevent the 90-degree translation of torque from a conventional winding pinion to the barrel train, so it helps to thin the watch out by accomplishing all winding in one train. Now the timepiece, remarkably, has a real-world power reserve of 44 hours, and I say that's remarkable because of the size, or at least the thickness, of the mainspring. The watch in most respects operates as a conventional timepiece, although it does require a special winding mechanism. As you can see, the crown is highly unconventional. So the watch is considered to be more of a technology pioneer and a laboratory for technologies overall than an actual pre-production concept or a forerunner of a production concept. And to demonstrate how this watch is put together, I think it's important that we start with the balance. In many respects, this is like a single-sided movement, wherein the case back acts as the main plate. There are very, very few bridges by design, and then the balance itself is single-sided, which is to say it's like a flying tourbillon in that it is mounted on only one side, and the hairspring itself is almost impossible to see. You can see just how small the gauge of the wire is. Now the timepiece features a elaborate keyless works that's best appreciated when you see it in its pre-fabrication form. Now you can actually see what the case back of the watch looks like. You can see how the base plate is actually the same as the case back. They are one and the same single structure. You can also get a better sense of, well, let's get close one more time, of the infinite screw and how it translates winding without that 90-degree kick that is typical of a keyless works. And finally, you can begin to see what the movement looks like and what the watch looks like in its final form. One of the functions of the PVD on this watch is in fact to reduce the coefficient of friction relative to the ball bearings that act as pivots for many of the contact points. So you see PVD here is both an aesthetic and a functional component of the watch. Finally, if you're wondering how they get that crystal onto the timepiece, that's a wonderful answer. And the answer is 0.2 or 1/5 of a millimeter thick, and it's fixed in place with glue. You can see, unlike cambered or box section sapphires, this one is entirely flush, not to the outside of the case, certainly not to the bezel, but to an inner shelf that lies inboard and stepped down just inboard of the bezel. You can even note that the open barrel allows you to see the state of wind of the mainspring, acting as a sort of informal power reserve so you can gauge the charge and discharge of the watch. Once again, this is the Altiplano Ultimate Concept, a timepiece that may not make it to production in the form you see here, but the technologies are already being tested by Piaget and will arrive in future versions of the Altiplano Ultra Thin Dress Watch collection.